And the enemy, we didn't know where they were, but we felt that they were going to close in. But they knew we were there.
Oliver Stone has never been a director to tiptoe around a subject. From Platoon to Wall Street, JFK to Natural Born Killers, his films ignite conversation, spark debate, and sometimes leave audiences split right down the middle. He's been called a heat-seeking missile for controversy, a filmmaker unafraid to challenge politics, morality, and human nature head-on. Whether it's war, corruption, media manipulation, or the inner battles of complex characters, Stone thrives in the spaces where other directors hesitate to go. His work is as much about asking hard questions as it is about telling a compelling story. But for a man with such a distinct voice, Stone's influences are surprisingly varied. Over the years, he's spoken openly about the movies that shaped his creative vision. Films that not only entertained him, but also sparked the themes and techniques that would become his trademarks. Some are sprawling epics with sweeping landscapes. Others are intimate character dramas with raw emotion at their core. And a few are biting satires that reveal the absurdity in humanity's darkest moments. Together, they form a cinematic DNA that runs through all of Stone's work. In interviews, Stone has admitted it's nearly impossible to pick just a few all-time favorites. But he's done it anyway. These are not simply movies he enjoyed. They're films that left a mark on him as an artist and as a person. Some inspired him as a young man still searching for his voice. In this countdown, we're revealing Oliver Stone's favorite films, with one bonus choice to make the list more personal. We'll explore why each movie mattered to him, how it reflects his own storytelling sensibilities, and what lessons he may have carried into his own work. Expect timeless quotes, behind-the-scenes insight, and a few moments that might make you revisit these classics with fresh eyes. So let's step into the projection booth of Oliver Stone's mind and see the movies he can't stop thinking about. Number 6. Raging Bull, 1980. For Oliver Stone, Raging Bull isn't just a great film, it's the kind of cinematic achievement that sets the bar for everyone else. Directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Robert De Niro as volatile boxer Jake LaMotta, this 1980 biographical drama is a brutal dance between beauty and ugliness, grace and destruction. Stone has called it one of Scorsese's towering accomplishments, praising how it orchestrates all the elements, the conception, the acting, the images, the style, into something that tells a particular story and then goes beyond that. From the opening shot, De Niro shadowboxing in slow motion to the haunting strains of Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana, Stone saw a filmmaker working at the height of his powers. The black and white cinematography isn't just a stylistic flourish. It's a deliberate choice that strips away distraction, leaving nothing but the raw textures of flesh, sweat, and emotion. For a director like Stone, who's obsessed with the marriage of form and content, Raging Bull was a revelation. The story of Jake LaMotta, a man whose ferocity in the ring mirrors his self-destructive jealousy and rage outside of it, fits perfectly with Stone's fascination for flawed, combustible men. LaMotta isn't portrayed as a hero or a villain. He's a living contradiction. One minute, he's absorbing punches with inhuman resilience. The next, he's sabotaging his marriage or lashing out at the people who love him.
What do you mean you fuck? Who'd you fuck?
I fucked over him, Tommy, Salvi, your brother. Oh, I sucked your brother's cock. What do you want me to say?
This refusal to sand down the character's rough edges is something Stone clearly admires. In his own work, he's never shied away from showing characters at their most repellent if it means telling the truth. There's also an almost spiritual quality to the way Raging Bull treats pain and punishment. LaMotta's famous line, "You never got me down, Ray," after taking a career's worth of punishment from Sugar Ray Robinson, is both a boast and a confession. It's about survival, not victory. Stone's films, from Platoon to Born on the 4th of July, are full of characters who endure hell but cling to a shred of personal dignity. Behind the scenes, Raging Bull also represents something Stone respects: artistic risk. When Scorsese made it, he was coming off a commercial failure and battling personal demons. Taking on the story of a violent, unlikable boxer wasn't exactly a safe bet for box office success, but Scorsese and De Niro pursued it with unwavering commitment, reshaping it into a meditation on masculinity, guilt, and redemption. For Stone, that's the essence of great filmmaking, taking the leap even when the outcome is uncertain. In the end, Raging Bull is more than a sports movie. It's an opera of violence and vulnerability, one that uses the ring as a metaphor for the battles we fight with ourselves. That's why Stone reveres it, not just for its technical mastery, but for its courage to stare into the darkest corners of the human soul and find something beautiful there. Number 5. Dr. Strangelove, 1964.
3 lipsticks, 3 pair of nylon stockings.
Shoot, a fella could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas.
Oliver Stone has never been shy about his political opinions, so it's no surprise that one of his favorite films is Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Released in 1964, at the height of Cold War paranoia, this pitch-black comedy turned the unthinkable, nuclear annihilation, into a razor-sharp satire. For Stone, who's built his own career dissecting power, war, and political madness, Kubrick's masterpiece is the gold standard for how to mix fearless social commentary with unforgettable entertainment. Right from the start, Dr. Strangelove announces its irreverence. The plot follows a series of escalating blunders after a deranged U.S. Air Force general unilaterally orders a nuclear strike on the Soviet Union. What unfolds is both terrifying and absurd. War room debates that sound like schoolyard squabbles, military leaders more concerned about political optics than human survival, and an eccentric ex-Nazi scientist struggling to control his own arm. Kubrick doesn't just poke fun at the military-industrial complex, he skewers it, roasting the idea that those in power are rational actors when the stakes couldn't be higher. Stone has praised Kubrick for his courage in tackling such volatile subject matter when the Cold War was still in full swing. Dr. Strangelove didn't wait for history to grant safe distance. It laughed right in the face of the moment's most dangerous reality. That kind of audacity, taking the world's biggest fears and turning them into biting comedy, is exactly the kind of creative risk Stone admires. And then there's the craft. Peter Sellers famously plays 3 different roles: the mild-mannered President Merkin Muffley, the stiff British officer Lionel Mandrake, and the unforgettably bizarre Dr. Strangelove. His deadpan delivery of lines like, "Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room," has become part of cinema history. Stone has often spoken about his respect for actors who disappear into roles, and Sellers' triple performance is a masterclass in versatility. For Stone, Dr. Strangelove isn't just a comedy. It's a lesson in how satire can be sharper than any lecture or documentary. It proves that sometimes the only way to confront our most terrifying realities is to laugh at them, even as the bomb falls. That balance of boldness, artistry, and truth-telling is something Stone has chased in his own career, making this Cold War farce a natural fit among his all-time favorites. Number 4. The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946. For Oliver Stone, a decorated Vietnam veteran turned filmmaker, The Best Years of Our Lives carries a personal resonance that's hard to overstate. Directed by William Wyler and released in 1946, this post-World War II drama tells the story of 3 servicemen returning home to small-town America, each struggling to rebuild their lives after the upheaval of war. Stone, who has mined his own combat experiences in films like Platoon and Born on the 4th of July, recognizes in Wyler's film a truth that transcends eras. The war may end, but the battle to reclaim your place in the world is just beginning. One of the film's most striking achievements is its unflinching portrayal of the psychological and physical scars of war. The character of Homer Parrish, played by real-life veteran Harold Russell, lost both hands in combat and now wears prosthetic hooks. In one memorable moment, Homer casually lights friends' cigarettes and jokes, "Boy, you ought to see me open a bottle of beer." It's humor tinged with pain, a deflection that hides the weight of living with permanent change.
Boy, you ought to see me open a bottle of beer.
Well, then you got nothing to worry about.
Thanks.
Stone, whose own films often spotlight the hidden costs of service, no doubt admires Wyler's ability to capture both the dignity and quiet suffering of veterans, without slipping into sentimentality. The film's other two central figures, Fred Derry, the decorated captain who can't find work, and Al Stevenson, the banker struggling to reconcile his war ideals with peacetime realities, round out a portrait of disillusionment that still feels relevant today. Stone has spoken about how American cinema rarely addresses what happens after the victory, and The Best Years of Our Lives does exactly that. It isn't about battles fought overseas, but the quieter, sometimes harder battles fought at home. Visually, Wyler brings an intimacy that draws viewers into the characters' worlds. Greg Toland's deep-focus cinematography allows multiple planes of action to unfold in the same frame, a technique that keeps the audience anchored in the emotional dynamics of each scene. Stone, a director who often layers visual complexity into his own work, surely appreciates the precision and artistry here. There's also the matter of timing. The Best Years of Our Lives came out the same year Stone was born in 1946. It's not hard to imagine him discovering the film later in life and feeling a connection, as though it were speaking across time, from the aftermath of one war to the echoes of another. For Stone, who has navigated the dual identities of soldier and artist, this film's blend of humanism, craft, and honesty embodies what he values in cinema. By the end, the film offers no easy answers. It acknowledges that coming home isn't the end of the story. It's the start of a different kind of struggle. That's a truth Stone knows firsthand, and perhaps why The Best Years of Our Lives earns a place among his most cherished films. Number 3. Lawrence of Arabia, 1962. For Oliver Stone, Lawrence of Arabia is more than just a great film. It's a cinematic awakening. Released in 1962 and directed by David Lean, this sweeping epic about the enigmatic British officer T.E. Lawrence didn't just impress Stone, it helped shape his sense of adventure, artistry, and ambition. He's recalled first seeing it at 16, an age when the right film can burn itself into your soul. For Stone, Lawrence of Arabia was that film. From the very first frames, Lean's vision is staggering in its scale. The endless expanses of desert, captured in luminous 70mm, aren't just backdrops. They're living, breathing elements of the story. When Prince Faisal declares, "No Arab loves the desert. We love water and green trees. There is nothing in the desert. No man needs nothing."
No Arab loves the desert. We love water and green trees. There's nothing in the desert.
The line resonates far beyond the screen. It's an acknowledgement of the harshness and beauty intertwined in life, a theme Stone has explored in his own films, where the environment often mirrors the internal struggles of his characters. The story of T.E. Lawrence, played with haunting charisma by Peter O'Toole, is that of a man caught between worlds. A British officer who becomes a leader in the Arab revolt, Lawrence is both a hero and a stranger wherever he goes. This duality, belonging everywhere and nowhere, is something Stone has admitted feeling himself, as a man shaped by both the privileges of an American upbringing and the disillusionment of war. There's a restlessness in Lawrence's character that Stone seems to identify with. Lawrence is driven by vision, yet undone by hubris. He is both the architect of grand victories and the victim of his own contradictions. This complexity is what Stone often seeks in his protagonists, flawed, conflicted figures who refuse to fit neatly into heroic molds. Visually, Lawrence of Arabia is a masterclass in cinematic poetry. Lean uses the desert not just as spectacle, but as a crucible for transformation. Sweeping wide shots dissolve into intimate close-ups, mirroring the oscillation between the grand movements of history and the private moments of doubt. Stone, who has built his career on balancing large-scale historical narratives with personal, character-driven stories, JFK, born on the 4th of July, has often cited Lean's epic as proof that you can marry spectacle with substance. By the time the credits roll, Lawrence of Arabia leaves you with an afterimage of a man both larger than life and irretrievably human. For Oliver Stone, it stands as a benchmark, proof that cinema can be epic in scale, intimate in feeling, and timeless in impact. Number 2, On the Waterfront, 1954. Oliver Stone has often said that certain films don't just entertain, they confront you. On the Waterfront, directed by Elia Kazan in 1954, is one of those films for him. It's a story that doesn't shy away from moral conflict, betrayal, and the price of doing what's right. Themes that echo through Stone's own work. At the heart of On the Waterfront is Marlon Brando's iconic portrayal of Terry Malloy, a washed-up boxer turned dock worker. Terry lives under the shadow of corrupt union bosses, including his own brother, Charlie. When a longshoreman is murdered for speaking out, Terry's loyalties are put to the ultimate test. The emotional centerpiece of the film, and one of the most famous scenes in movie history, comes when Terry confronts his brother in the backseat of a car. With a quiet, heartbreaking delivery, he says, "You was my brother, Charlie. I could have had class, I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am."
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
For Stone, this moment isn't just great acting. It's cinematic truth. Brando strips away any artifice, revealing the raw regret of a man who realizes his life has been compromised by fear and misplaced loyalty. Stone's films, from Platoon to Wall Street, often circle the same question. What is the cost of keeping your integrity when the world pushes you to betray it? Stone likely feels a deep kinship with Kazan as well. Kazan, a brilliant but controversial director, faced his own moral crisis during the McCarthy era when he testified before the House Un-American Activities Committee, naming names. That real-world moral compromise runs parallel to the moral tightrope Terry walks in On the Waterfront. For Stone, who has never been afraid to wade into political controversy himself, the film becomes more than just a story about dock workers. It's about the courage, or lack thereof, to stand against the tide. Visually, Kazan and cinematographer Boris Kaufman give the film a gritty, unpolished realism. The cold New Jersey docks, the fog-choked mornings, the cramped tenements, they all work to ground the story in a world that feels lived in. Stone, who often prefers shooting on location with naturalistic lighting and lived-in sets, surely admires this authenticity. When you watch On the Waterfront, you're reminded that moral courage rarely comes without pain. For Oliver Stone, it's a lesson worth telling again and again. That sometimes, to truly live with yourself, you have to risk everything. Number 1, The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, 1972 to 74. When Oliver Stone talks about the Godfather films, there's no hesitation. They stand at the very peak of cinematic achievement for him. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, these two films are more than just crime sagas. They're sweeping operas about power, loyalty, family, and the slow erosion of morality. For Stone, they represent the perfect marriage of story, character, and craft. The first film, released in 1972, follows Don Vito Corleone, played with quiet authority by Marlon Brando, as he navigates the dangerous balance of running a mafia empire while protecting his family. By the film's end, his youngest son Michael, played by Al Pacino, has transformed from reluctant outsider to cold, calculating leader. That transformation is one of the great character arcs in film history, and it's easy to see why Stone is drawn to it. His own movies are full of characters whose ideals are tested and ultimately transformed, sometimes for the worse.
Don't be afraid, Carlo. I'm godfather to your son, Carlo.
Then came The Godfather Part 2 in 1974, a bold experiment that blended Michael's consolidation of power with flashbacks to his father's rise, played by Robert De Niro. The result was a richer, more layered portrait of corruption and legacy. Stone has often praised filmmakers who take risks, and Part 2's dual narrative was a gamble that paid off, cementing it as one of the rare sequels that equals, and for some, surpasses, the original. And of course, there are the lines that became part of cultural history. Brando's Don Vito, stroking a cat, murmuring, "I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse."
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Pacino's chilling order, "Don't ever take sides against the family again."
But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
These moments are more than quotable. They're iconic shorthand for power, loyalty, and betrayal. For Stone, the Godfather films are personal as well as professional benchmarks. As an Italian-American filmmaker himself, Coppola infused the saga with an authenticity that spoke to cultural identity, family obligations, and the immigrant experience. Themes that Stone, with his own rich heritage and political awareness, can appreciate deeply. On a technical level, Gordon Willis's cinematography, often cloaked in shadows and golden light, is something Stone has referenced as a lesson in visual storytelling. The film's pacing, production design, and Nino Rota's haunting score create a complete world, immersive and unforgettable. Stone, who obsesses over every visual and sonic detail in his own work, surely sees in The Godfather a masterclass in control and cohesion. But perhaps what Stone admires most is that Coppola managed to make intensely personal films within the Hollywood studio system. In interviews, Stone has often lamented the pressures of commercial filmmaking, and here is Coppola, making epics about the dark heart of American capitalism while still achieving massive box office success. For Oliver Stone, The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 are the Mountaintop, the rare works where ambition, artistry, and audience connection all align. They're films he respects not just as a viewer, but as a fellow director who knows how nearly impossible it is to create something timeless. Oliver Stone's list of favorite films isn't just a collection of titles. It's a roadmap to the art and ideas that have shaped his own career. From the moral struggles of On the Waterfront to the grand sweep of Lawrence of Arabia, from the dark comedy of Dr. Strangelove to the intimate humanity of The Best Years of Our Lives. Each choice reveals something about what Stone values most in cinema: boldness, truth, and emotional impact. These aren't safe picks. They're works from directors who took risks, who refused to compromise, and who left their fingerprints all over every frame. That's the kind of filmmaking Stone has always championed, even when it's made him controversial or hard to work with. In praising these films, Stone is also tipping his hat to the power of cinema itself. These are the movies that remind him, and us, why storytelling matters, why characters can linger in the mind for decades, and why a single scene can change the way you see the world. And if there's one thing Oliver Stone's own career proves, it's that great films don't just entertain. They challenge, provoke, and stay with you forever.